Yes, welcome to the very first show of Hold Up
Wait a minute.
with myself, Kash Rex, and
Me, MC.
yes, sir. And this is our way of inviting you in to our conversations about hip hop and R&B, the culture, the life from our point of view right here in Birmingham, UK. All right, because we think we have some pretty interesting conversations. And judging because of the way that the things that we've done, we've had a whole life now in hip hop, in R&B. We've worked in these music forms. I even teach the history of hip hop, and so we thought you'd want to share with us these conversations that we like to have on this subject. Okay, so shall we start with introducing ourselves, introducing a little breakdown of our histories?
Sure.
You think? Okay. MC, ladies first.
Hi, my name's MC. I'm an R&B, hip hop, and gospel producer, singer, and songwriter. I first journeyed into this music industry via this man here.
Yes, sir.
I wouldn't be doing what I do if it wasn't for him, so just let's get that out there. But yeah, he introduced me to songwriting, he introduced me to studio life, because prior to meeting him, I was just somebody who was an aspiring singer from the ends in Birmingham.
A very talented singer.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Then he introduced me to the legendary producer Lindsay Campbell, and the rest, as they say, is history. And I've gone on to work with people such as Chaka Khan, Kylie Minogue, Roy Ayers, Basement Jacks, all sorts of different genres. So, but yes, that's kind of me in a nutshell.
So I told you she's super talented.
Thank you.
And my favorite singer as well. So when you hear her stuff, you'll understand what I'm talking about. Right? My name is Kash Rex, and we're in our hometown of Birmingham. And this is a place since the 80s, the early 80s, I wanted there to be a hip hop scene right here in Birmingham. So that basically just so that I had a hip hop scene to go out to. I had hip hop clubs to go to. So I made it my mission. I'm talking the early, I'm talking from like 81, 82, 83,
Wow.
all the way through. Being able to in the early crews, the early hip hop crews that I was in, that I formed, we were trying to create the scene right here. We were trying to create what was happening in America. We were trying to have that here. So we worked very hard, over the years to make sure that there is a hip hop scene right here. Um, Through this and through all this, the live work, I then sort out. I went on the seek of I wanted to get signed, and so I got a record deal in '88. Made the very first hip hop record to come out of Birmingham
Wow.
that year, and ever since, I then became a promoter. So I wanted it to, be in the clubs, and so on and so forth. I was always a writer, and also became a songwriter, and that's how I worked heavily with MC on her first album, and throughout the years and the decades, I've always been one of the forerunners of the hip hop culture here in Birmingham, on pushing hip hop, pushing the hip hop culture, and as I say now as well, I do teach the history of hip hop and include, obviously the hip hop history from the US, but also from how it affected the rest of the world, including right here in Birmingham. And that's us in a nutshell, basically. But one of the things that I'd like to talk on today, MC, in today's show, is where everything is right now, and where we think it is, where we think it's going right, where we think it's going wrong, what should be happening, and I'm talking the hip hop scene and the R&B scene. So, from perspective of rap artists, singers, writers, um, getting record deals, or just going independent, and also the live scene right here. You know, that what's have we managed yet to get that network?
Oh, I don't know. Well, after I worked with you, as you know, I moved to London. I was there for like 15 plus years, and the scene there, as you know, is very different to here in Birmingham.
Very different. Yeah.
I think a lot of people there have gone more out of their way to create more of a scene within hip hop, within R&B. There's obviously a lot more artists because, again, London's a melting pot of lots of different people. So you're getting a lot of different influences that
And they have a great network. So.
Yeah, definitely. But I just think here in Birmingham, that network never quite kind of got off the ground. There were a few kind of key people that, like yourself, that tried to get things off the ground. Also going to include man like Cypher from Moorish Delta 7.
Absolutely.
You know, he was somebody that's also instrumental in the hip hop scene in Birmingham, and we had a lot of great groups in the 90s like MSI, Pen Talk, a bunch of groups. You can probably name some more that I can't
Yeah,
think of.
nighttime crime.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of great solo artists as well, you know, and I mean, we've got one of the solo artists in the whole Wait a Minute crew, Denise. Denise
Yeah,
is
for
was
real.
one of the first female rap artists in this town. But yeah, you're right. Continue.
Definitely. Sorry.
Yeah,
But yeah.
but do you think, like, there was a lot of artists? There's certainly a lot of artists coming up from the early to mid '80s, all the way through the '90s, and then the artists started either getting record deals or independently
Yeah.
putting out records themselves. And I'm talking literally, this is the era of records of discs, so they would
Like actual vinyl.
actual vinyl, so and that was the deal, right? But I just want to know, from that time of all that activity, right? And when it was look at all these acts and these groups and these singers as well, and
Yeah.
doing things and making music. Where is We should be seeing a solidified network surely by now. By this is 2025 now, and we just talked about what's been happening for all those decades.
Yeah.
Shouldn't we be seeing a stronger network by now?
Yeah, I definitely think that we should, as you say, but I think a lot of people, just for speed and because there's already networks in place and because there's a lot more people to work with, more studios, more artists, more opportunities, I think a lot of artists, myself included, went to where the heat is at the end of the day. So, because I honestly feel like if I'd have stayed in Birmingham, I don't think that I would have experienced all the opportunities that I had within the music industry, definitely,
sure,
or it would
yeah.
have been a lot harder, and I would have ultimately had to commute back and forth anyway. So
Yeah, because you moved to London. I mean, you made your first album here in Birmingham.
yeah,
I know
did.
because I was here working on it
Yeah.
with you, but and it was a Birmingham label that put that out at the time.
Yes.
But then after that, you moved to London, and then were able to forge out your path from there, and it was
Yeah.
way more effective than.
Yeah, definitely exponentially more, really, because again, off the bat, literally the first person that I worked with when I moved to London was ultimately Lindsley, who you introduced me to,
Yeah.
who's a big remixing and producer from also from Birmingham, who'd been working with a bunch of different artists. I know you worked with him on some of those artists.
Absolutely, we worked on a lot of his huge. At that time,
Yeah.
Lindsay at one point was the #1 producer
Yeah.
remixer in the UK.
100% big
Yeah.
up man like Lindsley Campbell.
Yeah, and I used to rap on a lot of his remixes, and that was just it was just one of the greatest times I've had in music. Absolutely.
But yeah, but ultimately, after you introduced me to him, he introduced me to a lot of the other artists that I ended up working with. So,
Yeah.
the first person that I worked with was Basement Jacks, which is like a
Right.
house
Yeah.
like dance music group, as I know a lot of people would have heard of them.
Yeah.
So that was my first gig, and I remember I was still living in Birmingham at the time,
You're right. Yeah.
and I was commuting back and forth to do sessions with them, and I thought, I've run out of annual leave now. I don't know what I'm gonna say to my boss. I can't be sick again.
Yes.
So I just thought, you know what, it makes sense to move because I was not getting those opportunities here because I was
Right.
earning more doing 1 or 2 sessions with them
Hmm.
in a few hours than I was earning in my day job during the course of a
Well,
week. So that I'm
I
like, no brainer.
I completely understand that because
Mm.
when I was doing the remixes with Lindsley, you know, I'd be making the kind of money that would take me a couple of months to make down here. I was
Yeah,
making in one session
there you go.
with Lindsay, so I completely understand that, and
Yeah,
the opportunities that would also come my way just from working on those.
yeah,
I mean, when I was in the studio with Lindsay in London working on those remixes, he would get other people who would come in bringing in work into the session.
mm.
You know, just they come just to the session, but they'd come in bringing in more work.
Yeah,
You know, and it just I was really able to see how London just has a great network. There was a
mm.
couple of times, you know, where we were working on something, and they need a singer for something, just for to do something and some oohs and ahs or whatever,
Yeah,
and make one phone call, bam, there's a BV singer right there on the spot. It just showed that how they just had to tap into a network, and bam, they got.
everybody in London is thirsty
Hmm.
for it in a way that I think people here are not. I just think people in general in Birmingham, a lot of them are kind of too cool for school. They're very laid back about their careers. They think, well, I'm talented and that will take me through. But I think the grind element in Birmingham is definitely missing also, I think, for
Yeah,
some artists, not all.
yeah. I think I've always thought about Birmingham that, and I've always tried to get across to Birmingham that, you know, we're stronger together.
Mm,
And that's always been one of my number one things to get across because I
yeah.
just believe that completely.
Strength in numbers, as they say.
Absolutely. Because if we're gonna come out and be struggling in Birmingham or wherever we're at, right?
Mm,
Then it's gonna be a whole lot easier if we're doing that together
yeah.
and working together on that. So I've I've told you many times about my story of when I went and got signed in London,
Yeah.
and not only did I sign my deal, but I stayed behind in London for a while to convince the record label to start a second label
Right.
that I could then come back to Birmingham with, and this could just be a Birmingham label.
Mm.
You know, so I was P Diddying the record label thing back then.
Yeah.
And I was doing that for the benefit of artists here in Birmingham, right? So I wasn't just thinking of myself, and I could easily have just done that, just gone for
For
self,
real.
because I was the one who I'd managed to get a deal, finally,
Finally.
because you got to remember I'd been rapping on the live circuit of rap, because all rap in Birmingham at one point was just live. No one was making records. It was
Yeah.
just all live, and it was that for years since I decided to take it seriously in '83, and I got
Wow.
signed in '88. So end of '87, put out a record in '88. That's when I got signed.
Wow.
So, you know,
I think
if
I was still at school, but yeah.
right, but so you see the length of time that it
Yeah.
can take, things can take, and so that would have been a whole lot, and I would have loved to had been able to get signed to a Birmingham label, and to be able to fight the fight here, But I'm very grateful that a label as far away as in London, who just off the strength of one of my demos,
Yeah.
not even seeing me live or anything like this, it's just off the strength of one of my demos, decided to sign me to a record deal. So the thing about London, it was good to me,
Yeah.
and it was good to you. So
London's been very good to me. As I said, I've had the opportunity to meet and work with some people that I grew up listening to and idolizing. So for me, it's just like, oh my gosh, Chaka Khan's over there. Oh my gosh, Chaka Khan's making me tea.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, Kylie's signing the CD that I wrote
Yes.
music for her on, or that I sang on for
She
her.
sang on Kylie Minogue's material. I mean,
I grew
that's
up
just
watching
crazy.
her and Neighbours, like
Yes.
Charlene, but yeah.
Yes. And you know, Kylie's someone who just went from like being like she's a take that story for me, from just like being cheesy, what I consider cheesy pop,
Yeah.
to being super cool,
Yeah,
you
she
know.
is, definitely.
And that's the way I seen take that you know, second time like take that re-emerged. I just thought that they was super cool. I thought that the songs were just incredible. Patience is
Yeah, again, Gary Barlow at the end of the day.
absolutely
Again, somebody else I've had the opportunity to work with as well, and I'm singing
right.
on,
Yes, yes,
on an album that went to theatre as well with a bunch of other people like
yes.
John Legend and Zendaya and people like that around me.
Right.
So I think Jennifer Hudson might be on that album if I'm not
Right.
mistaken, but yeah.
MC, you worked with one of my favorite singers,
Ooh.
homegirl from Soul to Soul,
Ah, Karen Wheeler, yes.
Karen Wheeler,
Good friend of mine.
because her debut album contains what I think is one of the most important songs, especially you know, for black people.
Oh, UK Black, I'm
UK
guessing.
Black
Yeah, a
is
great
one
song.
of the most important songs ever recorded.
Yeah,
And I
for
think
real.
people don't realize that it's such an underrated
Yeah.
song, but it's so powerful because it says the whole story of how parents coming here with the Windrush,
Yeah.
and then what life was like here. The golden story that they were promised about
Yeah.
what to
The
expect
streets
here.
are paved with
Right.
with gold.
You know, and if Karen ever sees this, sees her good friend here, you know, I just like to say, Karen, from the heart, thank you for the song. As a DJ, which I was at the time when your song came out, that was a record. They didn't have to send me that. I was going to the shop to buy that myself, because I just absolutely loved that record. I had all the I think they did a couple of remixes to it as well.
Yeah.
Blinding. I loved that song.
Very, very talented artist, and again, somebody who I believe is also slightly underrated as well. But
Yes.
she's amazing. Even as a person, she's crazy. But yeah, well, that's
Right.
another whole conversation. But yeah.
Yes. Well, you know, and so you then at some point you returned to Birmingham. You started your own label
I did,
as
yes.
well.
Mo Vintage
Mo
Records.
Vintage
yeah.
Records, right? And then you returned to Birmingham, which I was really happy about.
Hey.
And then since then you put out a lot of your own tracks off your own back, and you've had amazing success with those tracks especially in the soul charts, because I mean, you know, there's a lot of R&B artists out here, right, who will just be R&B artists. But you know, when you can get into the soul chart, because the soul chart is the home of Anita Baker and Aretha
Yeah.
Franklin and Luther Vandross, you know?
All my inspirations, definitely.
Absolutely.
It's an honor, but again, as I said in the beginning, being around you helped me to learn to be a good songwriter, because when I first met you, I was only a producer, and you wrote all of my songs, and I watched you and watched how you crafted the songs, and I remember you gave me your secret formulas. So I'm like, how do you write these songs? And I'm just like, this is baffling to me. And he whispered his secret formula in my ear. I'm like, okay. So I've been using that ever since, and it's working for me. So again,
Good.
thank you again.
You're very welcome, and it was an honor to work, especially on your first material. That was an absolute honor to see you progress and come out of yourself and out of your shell and just be who you are. And what I loved about how your stuff in the beginning is that you just worked with whatever you had, you know, and I really loved that, because I love the DIY of in music.
Hey.
You know, I love that. I love mistakes in music, and I
There was
love
a lot of those,
right,
definitely.
and I love seeing progress and people get better because, to me, that's some of the best material. You know, and again, returning to the Birmingham scene and what we think is right and what we think is missing is a lot of a lot of people just had to realize at some point and along the way that it wasn't just about talent. It's going to take a
Yeah.
bit more than just talent.
Well, I think you, again, talking about that, and we had this conversation earlier, I think one thing that's missing, I think just music in general, not just isolated to Birmingham, people's characters, like everybody knows Kash Rex at the end of the day, he's a character. And you think about some of our my favorite MCs, people like Redman, a character.
Absolutely.
You know, a lot of people, ODB, think of all of the members of Wu-Tang, they're all very unique in their
Very much
character.
so. Yes.
They're all part of the
Very true.
same crew, but they've all got their own unique character, which kind of makes them stand out from, in their own way, all the other MCs, but they're still on a level with them at the end of the day. It's not like, you know what I mean, there's no competition either. They're just that unique so that they can be those people. And it's the same thing with yourself. Again, Lindsay was very unique in his production,
Very,
etc.
very.
So
Yep.
yeah, and as I
Yeah,
said, I learned from some of the best.
and so it does take that. It does take character and all these things to kind of pop your head above
Yeah.
the rest, above the crowd, and to be able to, so that you are offering something else to the audience, not just talent, because
Yeah.
you not only have to impress an audience, you've got to impress media, you've got to impress journalists, you've got to impress radio, TV.
I strive to impress myself because I'm a hard judge of,
Sure.
you know what I mean?
Sure.
I'm probably harder on myself than anybody else, but that's how it's got to be for me.
Yeah, I think, I think I think there is a lot of character in Birmingham, but they're not revealing it.
Yeah.
A lot of artists like what I see when I see them or when I meet them, and when I see them doing their thing, is one thing, and then when I see them in an interview or on TV, if they make it that far or on stage, is another thing.
But I think someone like Leisha embodies character, which is another
Absolutely.
reason why I think she has stood out.
Yes. Talking about Lady Leisha, by the way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Who was originally from Birmingham,
Yeah.
but moved to London, and then became the Lady Leisha you all know.
Yeah, we all know. But I
Yeah.
think, you know what I mean? She's definitely the poster girl for character at
Absolutely.
the moment out of the whole of the UK, I would say,
Yeah.
at the end of the day.
So we can nail it down to one of the things that's needed is, in fact, here's two of the things that's definitely needed. Character, reveal your character, don't hide it. You've got to get your head above the crowd, and network. Come together, work together, and network. Take down numbers, work together.
Strength in numbers,
Strength.
one hand washes the others.
Absolutely.
But yeah, we'll leave that on a scripture.
Yes.
So, amen.
Amen to you too.
We did it.
And our very first show, the pilot of the show of Hold Up.
Wait a minute.
Oh man, I'm so glad that we finally did this and we've begun this finally.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes, sir.
There are two other members that couldn't make it today,
That's
so
right.
just want to mention those
Absolutely.
people. Big up Cece
Yes.
and big up.
And big up Denise.
So unfortunately
Absolutely.
couldn't be here today, so they'll be here next time.
Yes, indeed. You'll see the whole thing, the whole crew, in the next show. So please, there's very much more to come of this. Just today's show is being introduced by myself and MC, but there's way more to come. Trust me.
We're just the tip of the iceberg. It's not just going to be
Absolutely.
Birmingham we're talking about. We're going to be talking about lots of other aspects of
Absolutely.
the UK music industry.
And the US and we're just the whole culture.
Yeah.
Okay, so please get involved, subscribe, let us know what you think. This is a conversation between us two and yourself. Thank you so much for coming.
Peace.
Peace.